Today we're going to talk about someone we've covered on the channel before. Some of you guys may know her or remember her from my previous video about her. Her name is Franke, and she was a YouTube family vlogger who went by the name 8 Passengers on YouTube. Before we get into the story, I want to give you guys a little bit of a context as to how we ended up here. Franke was a popular YouTube vlogger who detailed her family life with 6 children and her husband. She started her channel back in early 2015 with her husband Kevin, where they documented their family life in Utah. She originally began her channel by posting 5 days a week at 6 a.m. By June of 2020, she had already gained 2.5 million subscribers and over 1 billion views. The problems began when in one of her vlogs in early 2020, one of her children said he had been banned from his bedroom and was made to sleep on a beanbag for 7 months for playing a prank on his brother.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October. And they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'll give you the reason why I lost my bedroom. I think so. I think this is the reason. At least this is the reason that's been in my head. It's pretty funny, but now that I look back, I mean, it's pretty depressing.
No, we never told our viewers.
That I woke Russell up at 2 in the morning and told him that we're going to Disneyland and he has to pack. And he got up and made his bed all neatly and then packed all his clothes in a suitcase. And then he walked out the door and I'm like, Russell, and he's like, what? And he's all happy. Has his sunglasses on.
Do you think it's funny? Because
and then I walk out.
If you think it's funny, then that was 7 months ago. Maybe you need longer without a bedroom.
It was not funny.
Russell got the big bedroom and Chad got the smaller bedroom. And Russell's bigger bedroom also had a bathroom. But what you guys didn't know was Chad didn't get any room. He didn't get anything. He was sleeping on the floor in the family room.
The problem didn't stop there because over the course of time, Ruby would document on video her abuse of her children. She would do things like withhold food from her children if they forgot to pack it.
I just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children, because I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry, and hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
Mind you, this little girl was only 8 years old at the time. She threatened to behead one of her children's toys because her child was misbehaving.
If you cut one more thing in my house, I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad.
So what are you going to do?
Are you gonna cut anything else? No.
You promise? Look at Mama.
And even things like telling her children that Santa wasn't bringing them anything that year for Christmas because they didn't respond to punishment. At one point in 2021, a Change.org petition was started to report her for child abuse and neglect. Things only got worse when in 2022, Kevin and Ruby separated and Kevin moved out of the house. At this point, Ruby deleted the 8 Passengers channel and began working as a mental health coach at a company called Connections with a woman named Jodi Hildebrandt. They launched a new channel together that same year and partnered with an Instagram account called Moms of Truth and started offering parenting classes. At this point, you're probably thinking like, how is this person giving parenting advice given her past history? Like, it makes no sense. Alright, so at this point, things go from bad to worse for Ruby. On August 30th, 2023, Ruby and her friend Jodi were arrested in Ivins, Utah on charges of aggravated child abuse, which is a felony. The Santa Clara Ivins Public Safety Department put out a statement that said that the arrests were triggered after Ruby's 12-year-old son had climbed through a window of his mother's house and asked the neighbor for food and water. He looked extremely malnourished and, according to reports, had open wounds and duct tape around the extremities. This is heartbreaking, but honestly, not that surprising given Ruby's previous history of abuse of her children. My only question is why the authorities weren't much more involved in this situation earlier, especially after she was reported reported for child abuse. After the authorities were called and they entered the home, they also found Ruby's 10-year-old daughter in the house, also malnourished. They were both taken to the hospital where they were both treated for malnourishment, and the boy was treated for deep lacerations from being tied up with a rope. According to the police, the boy had told them that their mother used cayenne pepper and honey to dress his wounds. That is some really demonic stuff. Well, she and Jodi were subsequently arrested and held without bail for their crimes. Ruby's partner in crime, Jodi, surrendered her license as a counselor pending the results of the court case and a disciplinary investigation. After she was arrested, YouTube banned her from the platform and deleted both of the channels that were associated with her. A day after the arrest, Ruby's oldest daughter, Sherry, posted a picture to her Instagram story with a picture of the police and the word "finally" in it, seeming as though she was relieved that this was happening. You're probably also wondering what happened to the father at this point and why he wasn't also arrested. Well, it turns out that after Kevin had moved out of the house, he had stopped communicating with the kids at the request of Jodi, and that all that had been happening in the marriage was at the directive of Jodi herself, who told them this was the only way for him and Ruby to save their marriage. Even days before she was arrested, Ruby told Kevin life with the kids was blissful, so he had no idea what was going on. That still doesn't absolve him of his part in this, in my opinion, but if Ruby and Jodi were purposely keeping him away from the kids in the guise of saving their marriage, I can kind of give him a break for that. I still think he should have been pushing to see his children because the kids are still his kids and they had nothing to do with the marital issues. Days after Ruby's arrest, her sister spoke out and said the arrest needed to happen. In a joint statement posted to Instagram on one of her sister's accounts, read the following statement: "For the last 3 years, we've kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything we could to try and make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jodi was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe, which is the #1 priority." This statement reads nice and all, but to be quite honest, I don't buy that they did everything they could to make sure the kids were safe. If you knew of the abuse for the last 3 years, why didn't you report it to Child Protective Services to make sure it never got to this point? I get trying to protect your family, but those kids were family too, and they didn't deserve to go through this. And maybe if they had really tried to take care of this behind the scenes, the kids wouldn't have been subjected to all of this publicly. While I do believe that the family cares for the kids, I don't believe they truly had their best interest at heart. During all of this, one of Jodi's nieces also came forward and alleged abuse from Jodi that occurred for a year. She alleged being tied, being duct taped, being blindfolded, severe isolation, emotional, spiritual, and psychological abuse, as well as being told she shouldn't be around others because she was dangerous to be around and that people were afraid of her. She also claimed that she was isolated for 12 hours a day and was once made to sleep outside in the snow while she lived with Jodi. She was also accused of being a sex addict and said that she felt empowered to come forward when she heard about Ruby's story. In November of 2023, Kevin, the soon-to-be ex-husband of Ruby, filed for divorce. A month later, on December 15th, Ruby's lawyers sent a statement saying that she would agree to plead guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse in exchange for 2 others to be dropped. She also blamed Jodi for taking advantage of her and influencing her to abuse her children, which is bullshit to me since this behavior had been documented before any of this happened. It could be that it got worse when she partnered with Jodi, but she had already been abusing her children for years at this point. She also claimed that Jodi systematically isolated her from her family, her older children, and her husband. 3 days after blaming Jodi, Rudy pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Ms. Franke, how do you plead to count 1, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
To count 3, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, guilty.
Fast forward to February 20, which was a couple days ago, Ruby received 4 sentences of 1 year for up to 15 years, which means the maximum total time was 60 years. Out of those 60, she can only serve a maximum of 30 years due to the laws in Utah regarding consecutive sentences. Jodi also received the same sentence. And while this story is tragic and those kids will never forget what their mother put them through, I feel like this story had a bit of a happy ending, or the best possible ending in this scenario. The only thing that sucks about all of this is the fact that she can only serve a maximum of 30 years due to the laws in Utah. Something else that kind of sucks in my opinion is the fact that her sentence has such a wide range. I doubt she will serve the full sentence of 30 years, and more than likely she'll only serve 4 and get out on good behavior. I just hope that the children get the help they need and can recover from this whole ordeal. Anyways guys, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and if you want to keep in touch with me, join the Discord. Link in the description. Peace.